more than half over, and we've had some half decent weather of late, which has allowed construction projects to continue forward. Let's start with Toxoy Mills cleanup. How long has county been working on that, and how close are we?
County's been working on that for 15 years. That is a 15-year project. And if everything goes well today, which is Friday, it will finally be completed after 15 years. So we're very excited about that and cleaning up that area, and that mill is going to do wonders for that area. And we're very happy that we've finally been able to do this by cobbling money together from here, there, and other places to finally bring that to fruition.
It's kind of still up in the air about what the property will be used for, is it?
Very much up in the air about what we will use it for, but I can assure you that if it is not something that would be of tremendous benefit to that neighborhood, the council won't consider it. And it may be the fact that until something, really remarkable happens, it might make a nice urban forest.
Yeah, green space there would be nice.
A green space with trees.
Another project that's been on the radar, not that many years, but a few years, is the Viva Tire Recycling Center. Y'all clearing that up now too?
And they began this week, and they're going gangbusters down there. If you go by the Viva site, you will see truck after truck after truck hauling tires away from there. Those tires that can be recycled will be recycled. Those that can't will be sent to an appropriate landfill facility. You just can't go take them anywhere. And we're going to clean that site up. And I can assure you the council's idea on that is to let that turn into a beautiful forest.
And there's probably more tires under the ground out there than we can see on top. That's how
Yes.
much digging they got to do.
And they're doing a lot of digging. And one person said they're digging a hole and putting all the tires in it. And that is not true, because we have an inspector on site. And as a matter of fact, I've been there twice this week looking at the work, the progress, because it will be a great day when the Homeland Park Fire Department doesn't have to go down there at night at 3:30 in the winter to put out a fire. And I won't have to go down there at 3:30 at night when it's raining to watch them put out a fire. And a tire fire is not easy to put out.
No, we can't even get started on how bad that is for their environment, a tire fire.
No.
Not quite as much digging done yet, but they do have the sidewalks in, some of the concrete. I was talking about the Paul's Dog Park up to date. What's the latest you've seen on that?
They're actually working out there right now as we speak on the dog park, which has been a long time in coming. A great deal of that work, at least $250,000 of that work on the dog park comes from donations and grants from institutions, community-based foundation grants, and we're very pleased about that, and we're glad to finally kick that off.
And it's not just going to be a place to take dogs, hopefully.
No, hopefully it's going to be a place where we can take animals from the shelter and let you look at them in a nice environment. It's also a place where we can walk animals at the animal shelter, but it's also going to serve as a community park and have community events. So you could say it's a dog park, but you could equally say it is a people's park, and that was council's intent when that began.
Well, and that kind of leads to the next one. Maybe the most wide open construction is going on out at Green Pond Landing. The amphitheater is well underway. Do you know how quickly that'll be able to be used?
That will possibly be completed. I know that the initial work will be completed next week. The initial, but that whole facility could be completed by the end of June and ready for use. And it is a beautiful amphitheater at Green Pond Landing, which if you are sitting in that amphitheater, you will have a beautiful view of Lake Hartwell and a killer view of the mountains. And the council has spent a lot of time and effort getting that ready, and so we're very happy that's almost completed. It'll be another great feature at Green Pond. Again, Green Pond is the premier fishing facility in the southeast, but it is also a park where people can go and sit out there and picnic. And when we have the amphitheater out there, we are hoping that we will be able to have concerts out there, which we will. And we also know we've already been asked by some people, Well, we're going to go out there and get married. Well, go out there and get married.
And it faces like you said, faces the lake, but it's also facing the sunset, so people will be able to sit there and watch the sun go down.
Yes, I can imagine people taking a book out there and just sitting there and reading.
Well, the weather has sort of allowed roads and bridges to get furiously at work again. I know they're working kind of through it, but one of the projects a lot of people have been looking at is the bridge on Shackleford Road. What's the latest on that?
It is here. It is
Done?
done, and we will have a little ceremony next week, Wednesday at 10 o'clock, I believe, and to officially open that bridge, and we'll have some other little festivities. It's taken us a long time to do it, but we had to go back with a bigger, better, and stronger bridge, and a lot of people think that we don't build bridges, but we actually build bridges ourselves with our crack people in our public works department, which saves us a tremendous amount of money, and we know how those bridges are put together because we did it.
And the bridge is going to be named after a family.
Yes, it's going to be named after a family whose name will remain unknown until Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Well, it's going to be trickier than people think. There's more than one family that's been out there more than 100 years. So.
Well, that's true.
That's true. What other projects are people seeing progress in across the county now that the dirt's moving and all?
Well, if you go, and I know this is not something that people get really worked up about, but we're finally going to be able to complete the work at our landfill expansion at the Star facility, which is going to allow us to serve the people in Anderson County at that C&D landfill for years to come. But just like every other project that we've had, with all of the rain, we have been delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. But this stretch of nice weather allowed the ground to dry out and allowed us to get these things done.
And people don't realize how critical the stormwater and the sewer and stuff is to anything else we do, right?
Yeah, that's the bare bones, that's the skeleton, that's the basic infrastructure.
Well, speaking of the lake, the Shores at Asbury is pretty far behind schedule right now. Have you heard anything updates on that?
I heard that they hoping to be by July 4th. I think that's a very ambitious schedule, and the work is continuing, and that's where that is right now.
And last night there was a public meeting to talk about River Forks possibility and all. What will be the next step for the county towards considering what to do out there?
Well, I think the county will, there were 2 members of county council there, and they will take what they heard last night from the citizens, and they will cogitate on that and come up with a solution, which I'm sure the council will want to do to take care of everybody's interest.
There are a number of closed core properties on the lake. I know they have to go through a process, but if people rent them, are there restrictions what people can put on those, or could somebody put something retail on there? I mean, could I go out there and put a gas pump and a convenience store on a dock?
I can assure you, you will not be able to put a gas pump on Lake Hartwell. Top of my head, there are 5 marinas on Lake Hartwell, and the Corps of Engineers will tell you that they want all of those to be successful endeavors. So I doubt you will see another marina on Lake Hartwell.
So there are restrictions.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. County Council's passed 2 readings on the fiscal year 2021-22 budget.
Mm-hmm.
What have been the biggest challenges putting that budget together this year?
Biggest challenges have been getting over COVID, and I know people are sick of COVID. I'm more sick of COVID than anybody can imagine. But trying to put a budget and trying not to have a tax increase, which council has managed to do both. I think it's a very good budget. It will not have a tax increase, and we hope to have 3rd reading on June the 1st and put that to bed, which will be the earliest budget that we have ever done.
I was going to say, I can remember budgets cracking the midnight of the night it was due, so this will be the earliest budget.
But our Finance Committee, Chairman Brett Sanders, they worked diligently on the budget, and they've kept council informed as to what's going on, so it's been remarkably smooth so far.
When we talked about the pandemic year, how did it affect the budget's bottom line for the year? Did we?
Well, I mean, you had certain situations. Take the solicitor's office, because they were closed. I mean, they were still there doing stuff, but they couldn't do court, a lot of other things. So they were seriously impacted in collecting monies, and other departments were impacted too. But we've taken that into consideration. The stimulus package is going to help us out a little bit, which we were just notified really about the last 10 days that was available, And so that's going to help us catch up and plug some holes.
Have y'all figured out how, that's $40 million. Have you figured out what their strings attached are going to be yet?
There are strings attached, and we're still studying the documents, as is everybody else in the United States, as to what you can and cannot do, and then what is the highest and best use of that one-time money. What would it do Anderson County in the long run to make Anderson County safer and more prosperous?
Has all the stuff from pandemic, like this backed up supply lines all over the country, has that affected Anderson County as well?
It's affected everybody. If you go by a car dealership, you might notice their lack of cars in some cases because they can't get parts. Lumber's almost doubled in price. I mean, it's gotten so bad, and this is true, I don't say this tongue in cheek, but there's a shortage of chicken wings in the country right now. Now, I don't know what COVID had to do with that, but there is a shortage. So it's affected just about anything and everything in the economy. I mean, the supply chains have been broken, and all of that's being repaired. And in a lot of ways, what used to be the way you did things is no longer the way to do things. You know, 20, 30 years ago, we talked about this. The thing in manufacturing was just in time. You weren't going to build a warehouse to have parts sitting around. You were going to call the supplier, they were going to deliver the parts, and it was going to run smooth. I don't know, people might not be rethinking, said, maybe we need a little warehouse and have some stock on hand.
And the county just approved a warehouse space here.
Yes, we did.
The county's also in the process of distributing $6.1 million to renters and landlords.
Yes.
So far it's a little bit slow. Is it going to take the evictions beginning to pick that up? Or?
I really do think that the evictions and the ending of the ban on evictions is going to increase that amount of money. And again, if you are a renter or a landlord and you are in arrears with your rent and sometimes your utilities, please contact AIM. You can look at their website. We've handed out millions of flyers. So please reach out to them and get some help, because that's what that money's for.
Has there been any real impact on economic recruitment? I know we've had local development. Any impact on economic recruitment during the pandemic?
Absolutely not. We had another announcement at council meeting on Tuesday. I think it's 38 jobs, and they're paying around $35 an hour. And we have many more companies that are looking to come to Anderson. Some really new twist on agricultural-based companies, which is exciting, but also companies that are heavy on software looking at Anderson County. So we're excited about that. And all of our companies, just about all of our companies, have jobs available, and they have good jobs available, and there are going to be more good jobs available.
And we get to that again in a minute, but we've discussed this a little bit before. But when y'all are doing economic development, what are the key elements y'all look for, especially when you're considering incentives for new companies or expansion?
How much they pay, what their benefit package is.
Y'all turn down some low income.
We don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
We don't have to bring in just anybody who's going to come in here and pay nothing, because we don't have to, and we won't do that. 12 years ago, our median wage, was around $13 an hour. Okay? Now it's almost $21 an hour in 12 years. Now, Greenville's is 24. Council won't be happy until ours is 24 or 25. That's real world, real dollars in people's pockets. And those are the type companies that are coming here. Now they want to be here because of Anderson University, Tri-County Tech, Clemson University, and people who may once their children may have left, and some will, because that's just the nature of the beast. But now a lot of those are coming back, and a lot of them never leave. And Anderson University has been a real pipeline to different parts of the state, bringing in, I know some of our interns, I think we had one time 2 interns from AU, but they were from Columbia. And they aren't leaving. They're staying here. And so that's very exciting, and that's very good. And Clemson's always had that problem. People graduate and they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave the area. So we're creating opportunities for them to stay here.
And with that comes a lot of challenges, and we're trying to manage growth as we do that too.
And that's what we spend about half of our time on right now, is managing growth, because in the Powdersville and Pendleton area it is wide open. I don't think Pendleton has really hit full acceleration yet, but it will. We have close relationship with every town that we work in, but working with the town of Pendleton, I mean, they really are getting slammed with opportunities, and some exciting opportunities, because in essence Clemson has said, we're closed. You don't want to go towards the other way of Seneca too much. And Central, they've got their own thing going. You really can't go north in Clemson. So all of that is streaming down Clemson Boulevard as hard and as fast as it can. And you're going to see activity on Liberty Highway, because in 30 days our new Wellpine Sewer project will be complete. As a matter of fact, the line was completed this week, but now we have to do the checking and the permitting and get DHEC permission, so that's going to allow us a lot more capacity in that area.
And it's growing both from, like I said, from north and from Clemson and from Greenville. So,
but it's also now affecting Piedmont. And I was in Belton yesterday for the opening of the Bubblegum Trail in Belton, which is a wonderful community project that Anderson County Council was glad to participate to a small degree with money and expertise from our Roads and Bridges Department. But there was a huge crowd. That trail was opened, and they named it the Bubblegum Trail, and they named that after an engineer who used to have come through 3 times a week there. And there was always a little girl who would go out early in the morning and watch the train go by. So the engineer became, he said she's there all the time. So he started throwing out bubble gum to her when he went by. And then that grew and grew, and he became the bubblegum engineer. So they announced the Bubblegum Trail yesterday, and it's really awesome.
One of the projects that was slowed is the Courthouse Square property. Are we still seeing any movement on that?
No.
Still not?
COVID shut that down, and nothing's moving on that. I guess what you could talk about downtown is School District 5 is moving into the old First Citizens Bank. Mm-hmm. So they closed on that, I think, last week.
They did.
And so they'll be moving in there and upgrading that spot. And
both those buildings, really,
yeah,
sitting there. And that one's hard for anybody else to use other than a little bit of office space.
And so what's going to happen there, that's going to put more people on the streets in downtown Anderson. The Palmetto building over there is almost finished. That's going to be a great addition to downtown. And some other
condominiums that people, right now it's 100% full.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you build it around here, they're going to come. We met with the developers this week who were interested in the old Anderson Mill property. And we met with some developers who are interested in the old Equinox Mill, which the county owns, which after we've completed Toxoy, that's where we're going to Equinox Mill and get that cleaned up. And hopefully that won't take 15 years to do.
And that will really allow for more expansion.
It certainly will allow for more expansion.
One of the things that is back in close to full swing is the Civic Center. Seems to be people out there all the time. Been concerts. The fair was just there. And Celebrate Anderson's back on Labor Day weekend schedule. Got any announcements for Celebrate Anderson yet? Or are we waiting?
We're waiting because we're trying to figure out who would be the right fit, what the headliner would be, what the right headliner would be. So we were talking about that this morning, but we just completed the fair, a 10-day run, and they set attendance records at the fair like they've never seen before.
Had good weather for a change.
And we had good weather. They had one down day, and it seemed like that went over very well. We heard many comments about how clean it was, how friendly everybody was, but it was good.
Anything else coming to Civic Center other than Celebrate Anderson?
We've got a concert coming up, a Christian concert, and we've got several other things because now it's opening back up. And in the old days, if you were in the music business, you could make a lot of money if you had a very successful record, and you still can. But where you have to make your money now is in touring and concerts. That's where the money is. So a lot of people who quit touring and a lot of people who didn't do it a lot are now back in full force.
They lost a year last year.
And they lost a year last year. So I think, and I know that we've already been contacted by 3 different groups wanting to do something at our amphitheater, big time, and that's been a long time coming.
How about, is there an update on the Duke generator project they were?
We're still waiting on Duke to put it in. Everything's been done, but we're ready.
Okay. How about updates for Kidventure Park?
We had a meeting on that this week, and the next thing we're going to do is the bathroom, and we're collecting the money to do that. I really want to do the other part, but we're still chasing money for that.
We've got a partial update on the census data. What was your take on that? We get a good count?
I don't put any faith in that. I don't know where that information came from, and I'm waiting for the real census to come out. If I had to make a guess, I'd say 205,000. I could be wrong, but we'll see. But we won't see until September.
And that's a lot of growth in 10 years. I mean,
well, in 10 years, we're looking probably at 25,000 more people in Anderson County, and that doesn't count the people who came in last week.
right.
And I can assure you that more came in last week. And I mean, the stories you hear in the real estate industry, I mean, they just boggle your mind. People coming in here and buying 10 houses they've never seen.
And paying up for them.
And paying up for them, and people buying a house, and then they get in a bidding war.
Other good news, Anderson County's got a new librarian, and she is no stranger, replaces the great Faith Line, who just retired. They've been doing a lot of stuff during pandemic to be creative, and they got a new garden out there at the library. Have you been out to the new garden?
They had a dedication of the new garden this week, and Mr. Wooten, when he was on county council, gave them a significant contribution, as did a lot of other people. And it's a beautiful space right there at the library. They have beautiful plants. It's just a gorgeous place to go. It'd be a beautiful place to go read a book, but they have story time out there for kids, and some of us are asking them to have story time for adults so we can just go hang around in the garden.
And the Anderson County Museum is in the process of one of the biggest overhauls they've had. You want to talk a little bit about that new permanent exhibit and when it might be complete?
We probably need $150,000 more off the top of my head to complete Andersonians and more. It is going to be huge, it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be unlike anything anybody's ever seen. So we're really excited, really appreciate Beverly Childs and the great job that she does out there, and her fantastic ability to raise money, and her taste and passion for that museum.
And the county rebooted a crackdown on illegal road signage last month. How's that going?
It went very well, and usually it takes them about 10 days to put them back up. And so then we have to do it again.
So people don't need to misread that you're only going to do it once or twice a year.
They don't need to misread
just need to
that.
Be reminded.
Absolutely. And I also remind people that we have 4 litter officers that enforce litter laws every day, and we have two groups from the sheriff's department comprised of prisoners who go out and pick up trash 5 days a week. And so, I mean, if you see an Anderson County truck with a long trailer on it, we're out picking up litter. They had a successful litter pickup in Powdersville 2 weeks ago. The county was heavily involved in that, as well as the fine people in Powdersville. And so we're always fighting that battle, constantly fighting that battle.
I think Honey Pass got a cleanup fixing to happen.
Yep, Honey Pass is coming up.
What, any job announcements coming that I didn't ask you about? Any new jobs?
Well, the ones at County Council
we just did
last
some at
week.
County Council, yeah.
And then we have some that we're waiting to be able to announce. But yes, we have more jobs coming. But, I mean, just right around, everybody has a help wanted sign out. Everybody has a help wanted sign, and everybody needs help. So if you don't have a job, you don't want a job, or you can't get to the job.
And let's talk about that. You talked about the transportation.
And we're still looking at that, trying to find a way that we can do door-to-door transportation.
For shift workers particularly.
For shift workers, because not all of the plants operate on the same shift. If we run a bus up there, do you orient it towards this factory or that factory or that factory? So in essence, you're not going to do anything. There has to be a different solution. But I will say one thing on transportation. Hopefully June 1, our veterans van will be on the road and be able to pick up veterans from their doorstep and carry them where they need to go. And the only reason we haven't done it now is because of COVID. We didn't want to put somebody in a van with a driver, and they may already have an impaired health situation. So we're trying to let COVID get away before we start that process.
And that just rang a bell with me. Are we going to get back to the senior meals thing here soon?
Yeah, and interesting things on that. Anderson County and Meals on Wheels partnered on that senior nutrition program. So we got the grant. We worked with Meals on Wheels, and now it is up and running. And so really it's a county operation right now. But it has been going so wonderfully well that Meals on Wheels is going to completely take that and operate it on their own. So it's almost like the county gave birth to the senior nutrition program, and we're very excited about that, to feed seniors in our county and all around our county. And Meals on Wheels, as you know, do a wonderful, remarkable job, and they've been doing a wonderful, remarkable job. And as things start opening up, it's going to be better. And I also want to encourage people, while we have not much produce at the Anderson County Farmers Market right now, but it's open on Saturday morning. And if you go down there and you want plants, you find beautiful plants down there, beautiful flowers, beautiful crafts, any kind of sweet that you might want to have, and a few vegetables down there, early season vegetables. But you should go to the Anderson County's Farmers Market, and it opens at 8 o'clock, and you will be amazed at what's there, and you'll be supporting our local economy and our local artisans and farmers.
And before you and I meet again, it'll be open in full swing in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
The tomatoes will start coming in
Yep.
June. And anything else coming this summer we hadn't talked about?
There's several things, but I can't remember what they are right now.
All right, well, finally, the most important thing, and the question on everybody's mind, it's less than 6 months now until Anderson County will be putting up the new Christmas tree.
Yes.
The Christmas tree again. And it's grown every year since being purchased more than 5 holiday seasons ago. What can people expect from the downtown Christmas tree on the Courthouse Square this year?
It is being watered and fertilized right now as we speak.
Electric fertilizer still?
Electric fertilizer.
Now, water works with electric fertilizer?
Well, it's special water. So we're expecting it to grow some more, and we're expecting to be able to have the usual Christmas celebration downtown rather than 3 people out there turning the lights on. And we're very much looking forward to that in a mostly COVID-free environment.
And it'll go up the week before Thanksgiving temporarily, and we'll be ready. That's why I said it's less than 6 months.
That's right. And it's going to be a beautiful time.
Well, we'll catch up in a month and talk about all the vegetables and everything else. And until then, we're done.
Thank you.